Another game that we have to talk about, another series we have to talk about, the Miami Heat versus the New York Knicks. Now, the Knicks were favored by 4.5. Was it 4.5 or was it 4? I can't quite remember. But all I know is I was on the Heat. And you know what? It was 4. It wasn't 4.5. It was 4. I was on the Heat at +4 going into game one. I actually thought my last episode of the Sitch, I said my game one pick was the Knicks to cover. But I didn't realize that Julius Randle wasn't going to be playing, and that was a big deal for me. So I flipped my vote to Heat +4, and boy, am I glad that I did, because the Heat won game one, 108-101. Jimmy Butler doing Jimmy Butler things, although at a cost. He sprained his ankle, basically didn't play for the final 5 minutes. But you know what? The damn New York Knicks and Tom Thibodeau did not take advantage of Jimmy Butler being a wounded soldier. I mean, Jimmy Butler had already received his Purple Heart and pinned it to his chest. And yeah, the guy's a warrior for going out there and refusing to come off the court injured. He's embodying exactly what his team needed to do. When you look at a leader, you look at Jimmy Butler. I saw someone say Jimmy Butler doesn't have the dog in him. The dog has the Jimmy Butler in him. That's exactly what it is. Jimmy Butler's a hard ass. He is the definition of a warrior. He's a captain. He's what you should have. But the Knicks, there is no reason that the Knicks should have gone at Jimmy Butler for those final 5 minutes. If he's going to stand on the court with his ankle looking like a propeller on a helicopter, then you've got to take advantage of him. You put him in the actions. You get him in the pick and roll. You find the mismatch. You hunt him out. You swing the ball so you go one-on-one with him in isolation. You do anything you can to attack Jimmy Butler and force Eric Spoelstra to take him out of that game, because he could barely stand up straight. And the Knicks did none of it. They didn't attack him a single time in those final 5 minutes. And that, I'm not going to say it's the reason they lost, because they were already down, but it's damn sure the reason why they didn't even have a chance of coming back. And now Kyle Lowry was great down the stretch. He was able to close it out. Gabe Vincent had a career game. He was also sensational. And what I've seen from this Knicks team is, I said, look, there's going to be a regression to the mean. The Knicks aren't going to shoot 28% from three like they did in the first round of the playoffs. And the Heat aren't going to shoot 45% from three like they did in the first round of the playoffs. We're going to be meeting in the middle, and that's what's going to decide this game. And the Knicks upheld some of their principles. I mean, they were playing really tight defense. They were actually hitting a lot of threes in the early parts of the game. They were getting to the cup. They were forcing turnovers. They were out hustling the Heat for a lot of the game. But all of a sudden, the well ran dry, and the Knicks only finished the game shooting 21% from three. The Heat only shot 33%, but it seemed like every time they needed one in the second half, they ended up getting it. And it was those timely shots that made a huge difference. And now Jalen Brunson wasn't at his best. He had 25 points and 7 assists, which is actually better than what he averaged in the first round. But this game had more tempo to it. That was one thing that I was saying, was that his 25-point average in the first round, actually closer to 30 because of how slow the games were being played between the Knicks and the Cavs. But he had 25 and 7, but he was 0 of 7 from three. He had some turnovers. He said after the game he has to be better. I'm not going to get on too much because he knows it. He knows they gave that game away. And the Knicks, weirdly, are better on the road than they are at home. Now, Madison Square Garden was rocking. I do think the Knicks can bounce back in game two, but I'm not giving a betting pick until I see the injury report. I need to know if Jimmy Butler's playing or not. I need to know if Julius Randle is playing or not, and I think Randle is. But I also probably won't bet this game anyway, because I'm fully expecting Butler to play. But if he does, I don't know what I'm going to get from him. And so I'm not going to bet them. I'm just not going to bet the game. There's too many variables at hand, and I don't really have a good firm control of the situation, so I'm not betting that game. Who do I think is going to win this series? I think as long as Butler didn't severely damage his ankle, let's say he's back to 90, 95% by game 3 or game 4, I think the Heat are going to end up taking this series. I think you saw that the Knicks had pretty much everything going exactly the way they wanted it for the first half, and they were still only up 5 points, and then they end up losing the game. That tells me that the Heat are the better team, and they probably should move on. But again, it's one game. We've got a long series, so we're just going to wait. We're going to hold off any judgment, and we're going to see what happens.